Good early morning, YouTube. It is nearly 1 a.m. on Friday when I did this video. I couldn't sleep last night and was just laying in bed, tried everything to go to sleep, and I just couldn't. So decided to do something in the workshop. It's almost 60 degrees and decided, you know what? I have had a bunch of scrap wood laying around my workshop. So I don't know how many other woodworkers kind of go through this, but I have a hard time throwing away pieces of scrap wood. I picked this up in one of those grab bag boxes a couple of months back. Actually, I think it was over a year ago. I think this was supposed to be a pin blank, and I never got around to doing anything with it, and it has literally been sitting on my welding table for like almost a year, probably longer than that. And I just need to get rid of all this scrap wood, and decided, you know what, let's do a miniature project with that since I didn't have anything set up. So I'm busting out my smaller chisels. I got a round, I got a parting tool, and a square carbide. And the heads on these are a lot significantly smaller than my larger carbide tools. So this is going to be a fun little project, and decided, you know what, if it goes well, it goes well. If it doesn't go well, it doesn't. And I have no idea what kind of wood this is, but I just, put it in the chuck. And originally, I'm pretty sure that this was supposed to be for a pen blank. And I don't do pens yet on this channel. That's something I definitely want to get into later. But just decided I'm just going to try to make a small little pot with this. And here I am using the larger carbide tool, even though I busted out my smaller ones. But initially, what I'm doing here is just making everything into a nice cylindrical shape, and I'm just going to end up parting this in half, which was my original idea. I'd actually done a project like this like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Go back and watch that video. I did this with Purple Heart because I had something similar. One of those grab bags had a pin blank of just regular Purple Heart, and wasn't enough to actually make anything out of, so I just ended up making a small little pot. And that's what I'm doing with this one, essentially, is the same thing. So just trying to get an idea of how much material that I actually want to use for this, and just making this into a nice cylindrical type of shape. And I don't know what kind of wood this is. I'm a horrible woodworker because I am not an expert on the types of wood that I use. But I will say this was a very soft wood, easy on the chisels, cut through like butter, no problems whatsoever. And here I am just parting these two pieces here, and then it flew out of the lathe and luckily hit the wall instead of my face. So here's the main body of this. So we're just essentially doing the same thing. We're trying to get it down to a nice cylindrical shape so that we can actually start the actual gouging portion of it. And I'm trying to save as much material as humanly possible with this. And in spite of me just wanting to make a small little project, sometimes the chisels are going to tell you just how much material that you're going to take off. So really just took our time here, and then just, putting the chisel on top of the blank itself so that we have an idea of like how smooth it is and how round it is without actually stopping the lathe. And I ended up doing that a couple of times, just seeing what the grain looks like. And I really like that dark and light colored grain on it. It looks really cool, and was really happy with it. But we got to keep working the material off because obviously it's still oblong, and we're just trying to get into a nice like shot glass. I made a shot glass like a couple of weeks back, but I wasn't going for a shot glass with this one. Just I knew it was going to be small, but just small enough to where I could make a lid for it as well. And during this portion of it, just really took my time and thought about what I was doing. And I think that's my cat in the background that might be eating food. So if you hear that, I apologize. Cat's got to eat too. But here's what it looks like once I got it to the basic shape that I wanted. And then we're gonna start the actual gouging portion of it here. And the parting tool actually did a majority of the work on the gouging portion of it. I knew using the larger carbide tool was going to definitely eat away at it, but since we weren't going that deep and it wasn't a lot of material to work with, just took our time, got everything nice and cylindrical, and then just started the gouging portion of it. Not a whole lot of problems here. But doing these smaller projects, I think it, definitely sets up the skill level to be a little bit better, because you really got to take your time, be methodical, and think these things out. Because what I was fearful of was hitting the edge of this thing, and then the lip of the bowl just like exploding, or the lip of the cup exploding, and then just have nothing to show for it. So we just really took our time, didn't go incredibly deep into the actual piece itself, and then we stopped and started the lathe a couple of times just to see how far we were. And then once I got to a nice good depth, we just made everything nice and even. And you can't see inside of there, but the camera angle wasn't, allowing that. But ended up sanding it. We went from 50 to 80 grit. Did not spend a whole lot of time sanding. Didn't feel like that was something that we needed to do. But basic, just a little bit of sanding never hurt. So now we're getting on to a little bit more technical portion of it, and we're actually making I guess the lip of the bottom of the bowl to where we can separate the head of the chuck here with the actual piece itself. And then came back, sanded it a little bit more. Again, 50 to 80 grit. Not a whole lot of sanding because sanding is horrible and I hate doing it. But now we're just sanding everything on the bottom of the little cup here so that we can part it on the lathe. And then I was like, okay, it looks cool. Grain looks good. Everything's going pretty good so far. And then we're just going to hit it with some wood wax. I didn't bust out the Yorkshire grit. I didn't get out the Shello wax. I thought since this was just a smaller project, normal wood wax would work. Don't have to get all fancy with it. Not every project that you do requires fanciness. Or at least on my channel, not every project requires fanciness. So here we are, polishing it up. And everything's looking really good. Really happy how this looks. And then we're just going to start the actual parting of it. And then we just slowed the lathe down quite a bit. And then sped it back up just a little bit. And then we're going to separate the main body from the actual piece itself. Not a whole lot of problems here. The anticipation, though, is killing me. And then we're going to take the hand saw and then just detach it. Nothing too fancy. Easy breezy. So then we are left with that piece, and then we're going to go over to the sandpaper and sand the bottom a little bit. Again, 50 grit to 80 grit. Not a big deal here. So that was done, and then we're going to give it some more wood wax, and then we're going to go on to the lid portion of it. So this part here, since it was reversed in the chuck, I was going to do something similar to the actual parting of the main body of it. And all we're doing here is just getting everything to a nice cylindrical shape. Luckily, we had a lot of material left on that second half to work with, which was good. So this piece that's here near the tailstock, I just got rid of it, took the parting tool, separated those two, and then we're just left with enough material to work with so we can make a lid. And then the process of sizing the lid is the next big thing, and then making it into a cylinder, obviously, but just leaving enough material to where we have something to show for it. But this part was relatively easy and smooth. Again, I don't know what kind of wood this is, but it's very soft, and it made the actual project a lot easier to do, because usually with the harder woods, it's a lot more difficult, and it's a lot more chippy on the chisels, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But ended up sizing this up really well. This part didn't take much effort at all, and then we stopped it, and then boom, perfect fit. And now we can start the actual making a mound on the bowl, and that's where the parting tool comes in yet again, and just working the material down, really taking our time. I think that was the key to this one, just really taking our time and thinking through everything that we wanted to do, and making sure that we weren't taking big gouges out, and just being methodical with our movements on the chisels here. Usually if I'm aggravated, I'll just like attack the piece, but I knew, take your time, be methodical about it. It's late at night, just be cool about it, man, be cool. So once we got that done, then we came back and just sanded it again, 50 to 80 grit, not a whole lot of sanding here, and then we're going to hit it with some polish, and then take it off of the lathe, and then we will almost be done with this midnight project. And hopefully I'll be able to sleep a little bit better. I just hate when I can't sleep at night and I'm just thinking about stuff, and just gotta do something productive, keep the mind going. It's better than just laying in bed a lot of the time. But here we are, just don't be stingy with your wood wax, polishing that up real nice and neat. And then we're gonna take the parting tool and take care of that last portion of it here in just a bit. So we did that, and then you can see there the head of the little mound on the lid, and then we're going to take the parting tool and then detach that, and it actually flies off the lathe here. It didn't fly off the lathe, it separated pretty easy, but it took me a little while to kind of get it out of the actual lathe table itself, and then boom, there it is. And then we're going to do the same thing. Take it over to some sandpaper, sand the top of it. Not a whole lot of issues there. And then we're going to do my signature, putting a light bright peg on top of it, and then we will nearly be done. And then just taking the drill, sizing everything up, taking the glue, and then here I am again, trying to size it to a nice, depth, and then boom, done. And then here's the lesson that I learned from this project. Throw away those scrap pieces of wood. If you're a woodworker and you got it just laying around, throw those things away. They're not doing you any good, and I am guilty of hoarding scrap pieces of wood I'll never use. But here's the final project, a little cattywampus on top with the actual light bright peg, but overall pretty happy with it. Not bad for a midnight project, and just a nice bonus video for everybody, but pretty cool. Getting better about doing these projects. But hope you liked it, hope you got something out of it, hope you're getting some good sleep, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Alright, so project is done, and check out this little guy. So I don't know what kind of wood this is, but I really love the grain of it. You can see the transition between the dark and the light color of it, and then this cool little knob on top that we put, because that is going to be, I think, maybe my signature thing that I do for some of the lids. But I'm titling this one Insomnia Woodturning because it is 2 o'clock in the morning right now on Friday, March 8th. So you guys are watching this here in a couple of hours. I'm going to go edit this, but sometimes you just can't sleep, and I didn't have anything else going on, so I thought to do something constructive. But really like how this little guy turned out. It's really small. I did a project like this way long time ago with some Purple Heart, but this one looks really, really cool. So I love how this turned out. Really cool looking wood. Don't know what it is. And I got better about throwing away scrap wood. I am horrible about hoarding scrap wood, and I just need to get rid of it. And if you're a woodworker out there and you got a pile of scrap wood that you know you're never going to use, just throw it away. Make space. But anyway, hope you guys liked it. Hope everybody has a good Friday and a good weekend. Yes, there will be a video still on Sunday. So I will catch you guys in the next one. Hope everybody's doing good. And peace. Get some sleep.